Okay, so for today's tutorial, I've made a very basic Pong game that when you move the right one with your mouse and the computer moves the left one automatically, and you have to hit the ball to the other side, and if I lose like that, it says you lost. But it has the capability where you could make it so like it gains a point and then like you'd play a new round, or like if it gets to the other side, which it is possible because I know some Pong games like the computer is perfect, so it'll never actually get past it. But I've made it, and I will show you how to do that so that it is moving slightly slower than the ball is moving up and down. So like when the ball is moving up, about this fast, then this will be moving up about this fast too, but a little bit slower to make it possible. So I've put all the scripts together here, but I'm going to clear this all and start fresh to show you guys how to do this tutorial. And it's pretty funny. Every time I type in scratch, I tend to typo. Hold on. Scratch. Alright, once I finish saving the changes, I will get started. And okay, good. So I'm going to rename this project Pong Tutorial. You can name it whatever you want because it's your project. And of course I spelled it wrong, but I'm gonna leave it. Okay, first of all, you gotta delete the cat. So right click on the cat and just delete it. We're gonna need 3 sprites, and I'm gonna paint I guess I'm gonna choose one of them from the sprite library because it's just faster. This ball right here. And this is gonna look a little bit different than the other Pong tutorial since I'm making this without reference to that one. Okay, so we got our ball, and I'm actually going to shrink that down with this tool up at the top here. Click that, and then you click on the item you'd like to shrink, for instance, the ball. So I just shrank the ball. Now I'm going to make one costume, and I'm going to name that player. Now the player is going to be like a paddle, like you saw in the last one. The only thing is I'm using vector because it's more user-friendly, and you can adjust dimensions and everything. So it's pretty much essential to line up the little green dot right here on the plus, and I'm going to fill this with blue because blue is your player. Blue. And I'm over here now, and if I right click on it, you can see duplicate. I'm going to duplicate that, but I'm going to call that computer. And then I'm going to color the computer one red, just like in the completed version, because red is your enemy. Now, okay, so I'm in the player now. So we need it to stay on this axis and only be able to move up and down. So X is side to side like this, so that's going negative in the X. If you look down these numbers right here, you notice how the X is going down, X is going up. This is 0, Y is going up, Y is going down. So I want the X to go to probably 220. That's pretty far back right there. But I'm actually going to do 200 because I want to make sure there's some space for the ball to be. I'm going to set the Y to 0. So that's just its starting position, kind of right in the middle. So I'm going to have that when you click the flag, it goes to the starting position. And now if you do a right click on this big workspace, you can clean up your work. So now I'm going to need a forever loop. And inside that forever loop, first of all, the ball is going to need to move. So I'm going to do it, move 5 steps. And then second of all, we need it to turn a random amount just to randomize its motion. So if you go into operators right here, you can get a turn pick random amount. I'm going to set that to 0.1 to 0.3 like that. So then the ball will just kind of turn around and just kind of randomize the path of the ball. Okay, but when you start, I'm going to want it to be pointing right. So I'm going to want it to be pointing this way. So when flag click, go there, point in direction right, so that it's pointing that way. Now, I just realized, sorry about this script goes in the ball. So to move this into the ball, click and hold on the flag and on the block, and then just drag it right over the ball, and it will have gone in. And then just drag this into the trash, so the player is clear, and the ball, and this is now in the ball. See, ball. Okay, good. First of all, we still want this to go in the player. That was right, because we want the player to go to the starting location. But now we want the player to move on the x-axis. Hold on, I'm just straightening out the player. Move on the x-axis up and down, based on where the mouse is and not side to side. So remember, x is back and forth, so set x to and then whatever value you want. And the value I'm going to do is the mouse x. So sorry. Early morning, I'm still kind of tired. It's set y to. Y is up and down. Set y to mouse y. Yeah, I don't make tutorials too often. This is actually my first one, so not really the best. Okay, so there. And we want it to always do that. So now if you look, you'll see that the paddle is following my mouse right over on the view screen. So that's good so far. Paddle's done. That's all we need for the paddle. So for the player script, that's what you want. I'm cleaning that up. So now if we go to the ball, we currently have this script. What we also want to do is when it hits the edge, it needs to bounce. Scratch made this nice little block right here where you can do that. But what we're also going to need is we're going to manually have to program it to bounce off the paddles. So that we're going to need an if-then, pretty much saying if something's doing this, then do this, like that. So I'm going to say if-then touching color, which is like the paddle right here. Here, I'm going to stop the script. So pretty much if touching color, blue, so if the ball's like touching the color blue and the paddle is blue, it's just a sensing method. Then what it needs to do is it needs to turn all the way around. So one way you can do that is turn 180 degrees, like that. So now if you'll see, once the ball comes back, we still haven't added sensing for the computer yet, but once the ball comes back, it'll bounce right off like that. So I just bounced right off my paddle. Now, okay, that works. So we also need to bounce off the color red. So if I right click on the if, then I can duplicate that exact same thing. And if I click on that little color box, then I can set the color to red. So now it'll bounce off both paddles. One issue though is if the ball's moving along and the paddle gets stuck in it, it'll just kind of like reflect off the paddle 100 times and just get totally stuck and broken. So what we need to do is this, you don't need this, but this is really helpful for making sure there aren't any bugs. Right below the turn 180 degrees, put an if-then statement, then go to operators and grab a not block. And again, 2-finger click, duplicate. So I'm just duplicating the not block. And then do the touching color in here for both of them. Make sure it's the right color. So this, and then it's going to be move 5 steps. So now, when it touches like the color, I'm going to say blue, when it touches the color blue, it's going to turn around and it's going to move away from the paddle until it's not touching it anymore. That prevents it from any glitches of getting stuck in the paddle. Because watch, when the ball comes, oh yeah, it now bounces on red. You notice how I was kind of stabbing it there, and I would have just stabbed right through the ball and it would have gotten stuck in my paddle, but it didn't. Because of this little nifty repeat and tilt. Okay, so that's most of your ball script. There's still more, but first of all, let's make the computer work. So now the computer uses a special script that I learned recently, which is very good for very smooth gliding. So it's also going to need a forever block, and then we need forever motion, and then change y by, and then here comes the math. Grab a divided by block and nest a subtraction block in it, and then put that in here. And then you're going to go to sensing, and you're going to grab the Y position of the ball. So see it says computer, so Y position of ball right there. And then you're going to subtract that from the current X position of this paddle, and then the number you put in here decides how slow it goes. So this is like full speed, half speed, 1/3 speed, 1/4 speed. So I'm gonna, just for now, I'm probably gonna need to tweak this later. I'm gonna do divide by 5. So now if you'll see, the paddle will move up and down with the ball, but the paddle also needs to go on the back side of the game, right? Yeah, and you can see the paddle's certainly working. But the paddle needs to go on all the way over here, right? So notice how I said X is 200 on this one? And since the center's 0, to reflect something, so it's mirroring the other object, you want to set it, make sure this is not in the forever, to -200, and then Y 0. So that sets it both in the starting place. Okay, so now you pretty much have your Pong game, but there's one more issue. The issue is when the ball gets past your thing, it just bounces right off the wall and nothing happens. So I'm going to go back to the ball because these are the last things I said I was going to add earlier. And then we're going to need 2 if-then statements. So I'm going to put 2 there. And then we also need more math. We need a more than, and we need another more than. And then it'll be if the X position is more than 220. So right here, this ball, it's coming this way, and then all of a sudden the X is 220, so that's pretty much like the wall right there. Then what it'll do is it'll just stop everything and say you lost because this is your side and you're not supposed to get past that side. Now what you could do is you could totally make this you could totally change this to how you'd like, because you could have that so it adds another point, and then it'll just reset based on the parameters up here. I'll be making another tutorial after this called stylizing your Pong game. And that'll just be making it look good and actually finishing it up. And all right, so 220 is, so if the X position is more than 220, you're gonna want the ball to say, you lost. You lost. I'm gonna put some dots there. And then I'm just gonna copy this into here and say, you won. Now, so this one, if the X position is less than negative 220, then it'll say you won. But you also need to stop so the game doesn't keep going. Now, in the next step, when you're adding points and stuff like that, you don't want it to stop. You're going to want it to continue, but I'll show you that in the next video. So you're going to let it sit there for a second so you can read it, and then it'll just stop everything. Okay, so that's, whoop. Okay, let's start from the beginning. And, oh, sorry. The ball's X needs to go to 0. Little bug there. When flag clicked, go to 0. I'm in the ball right now. Ball needs to start at 0, 0. Otherwise, it's pretty much impossible. Okay, now you have your finished Pong game. Now, if it looks like the computer is too easy and it's winning really fast, then again, you can go into this script and change that to divided by 3. The lower the number in this spot right here, the better the computer is. But just so you know, if you put it as 1, the computer's impossible. So don't put 1. But if you want to be you notice how it barely catches up there? That I think 5 is a good speed for now, but you could also have a variable in there where you could change the difficulty with that variable. Again, I'll show that in the next tutorial. So that's all for this video. Hope you liked it, and See you in the next one.